For some, the sleepy peace of Peleliu is almost too much to bear. And when you know the story, you understand why. For 75 years ago, this small corner of the Pacific was a small corner of hell.
In the Marine Corps, the 1st Division had earned the reputation of drawing operations which entailed easy landings. But at Peleliu, this tradition of good luck was dissipated.
It was at 8:30 in the morning on September the 15th, 1944, when wave after wave of American troops began to pour onto the beach here. They met heavy Japanese resistance. There were gun emplacements at either end of the beach, and many US soldiers died, but the battle had barely begun. 11,000 Japanese were facing 18,000 US Marines, and the fighting was intense. The island airfield was quickly taken by the Marines, but the Japanese had an advantage.
They had this natural ridge that ran 3/4 length of the whole island, and at its highest point, which is where we're at right now, is about 100 meters above sea level. And within this ridge, the Japanese forces had honeycombed it with hundreds of caves within for defensive purposes.
The battle to flush the Japanese soldiers out raged for weeks. Hundreds of tons of munitions were used, millions of rounds of ammunition. Thousands of men died. Still today, wreckage of war lies strewn around the island. Tanks rusting where they were blasted to a standstill. In the dense forest, what's left of a Japanese plane, a poignant reminder to a dreadful time. The network of tunnels where thousands of Japanese soldiers took refuge are still there. Even the drinks bottles that sustained them survive. Old mess tins and the remains of what looks like part of a gas mask lie scattered. There are caves like this just honeycombed throughout the ridge where the Japanese took refuge. And eventually the Americans just gave up trying to flush them out. And eventually they barricaded the Japanese in their thousands, and here they died. In the end, around 1,600 US soldiers died, but the toll for the Japanese was catastrophic. Out of 11,000, only 100 survived. Still today, remains are found and repatriated to Japan.
It is very important for the Japanese government to return the remains to the families of the deceased. Almost 5 times a year, the Japanese delegation come to Palau to make service and repatriation. And last year, about 45 sets of remains were found and repatriated to Japan.
Memorials for both sides stand sentinel on the shores of Peleliu now, looking out across the wide expanse of the Pacific Ocean in memory of the men of 2 countries who died in battle thousands of kilometers from home. Nick Clark, Al Jazeera, Peleliu, Palau.